listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So, update, my pipes are back working, not a euphemism. I'm actually getting water into the house. I know nice. I told everyone it was a bit of a saga that I had no water, but on day 5, that's right, day
Woo-hoo.
5.
Whoa.
Yeah. Day 5, things were starting to get very dark, very desperate feeling. And I had to get the city to come out to actually turn the water off. And then, wow. The plumber could fix what eventually happened was the pipe ruptured.
Oh my God.
And the water started flowing into the house.
No!
Now, doesn't that strike you as ironic that I can't get water into my house, but a burst pipe, like where is that water? Why couldn't I get that water? I don't understand how it works. But anyway, we're able to turn the water off and then just wait for the plumber to come, and had to replace that part of the pipe. But first had to get the city out, and the city couldn't find the water main, and my whole front of my house was dug up. So if you ever wondered...
Oh, I've had that happen too. It's pretty bad. All of your landscaping gone.
Yeah, all of it. And so now it's just that really nice combination of snow and dirt, outside the house. Yeah, it's pretty. So
I'm so sorry.
The good news is, though, I have water, and I'll never take it for granted. I don't know if I ever really did. I mean, if you were to ask me, do I appreciate water coming into my house, I would have answered yes, very confidently. Do I enjoy flushing toilets? Yes, I do. Do I enjoy brushing my teeth with running water? Very much.
Well, and you eat a lot of salads, so you have to clean a lot of vegetables.
I eat that mostly salads. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so did any of your house get damaged inside from the water coming in?
Just luckily that heard the sound as it was coming in pretty quickly and was able to just turn the water off pretty fast. So
wow,
it was very lucky. Very lucky.
That's lucky.
Yeah,
that's great.
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good to get reminded, because that's happened to me, and it's good to get reminded every once in a while about not taking running water for granted.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And how long did you have no water for?
It was 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I had to go to my sister doesn't live too far away, so I just had to go to her place to shower and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I was going to my neighbor's to shower, so that was, there's more than you probably need to know about your neighbors,
Did you find it? Did you find out anything or get to know them better by going into their house, or?
Well, you always do, don't you? You see their products, you see, their fixtures, you get a little envious because they've got a bit better of a shower head, that kind of thing. You're like, ooh, what's this? What's this?
Do you have ideas for your own remodel for your own bathroom if you need to,
Yes, of course I do. Yeah. I've always wanted to do the subway tile though.
Yeah.
That classic look, but I haven't done it yet. So,
what's your favorite shower head style? Sorry to interrupt.
It was it was the big round one, quite wide.
Up top and then like a waterfall,
Yeah, we have waterfall. Yeah.
I love that style of shower. I've only ever experienced it in a couple hotels, and then once our friends in Toronto, they had renovated the bathroom on. They had a cool old house that had 4 floors or whatever, a basement and then 3 floors above. And so it's narrow, but still pretty spacious and lovely. And they would always let other people stay when they were visiting town. And they had redone their best bathroom. And it was the most glorious bathroom. It was built to their specifications and their sort of dream manufacturing. And they had dreams that I didn't know I had. But when I saw their bathroom, I was
what was so great about it?
So they had this incredible walk-in shower that was quite large, that had the right amount of shelving to like put all the different products, and then that ceiling shower where it just like rains down on you, and the pressure was so good, and a separate clawfoot bathtub underneath the window so that you could like look out into the backyard and stuff. And then the toilet was like the right distance, like it wasn't like jammed up against a wall, so that like, you know, I'm a large woman. I have been in bathrooms where the toilet is in such a narrow space that like basically I've got like, you know, one cheek just hanging off on a whole other, you know, it can be awkward.
Yeah.
I remember one bathroom in Ireland. My God, we were in this like little hostel, and the toilet was in such a snug space that I could only sit on it with my hands above my head.
What?
Thank God we were only there for like 12 hours. But it was
Oh my goodness.
shockingly awful. I hated it so much. Everyone else that was in our little group had bathrooms that were much more reasonable. But we ended up in this room for like, I can't remember why. It was fine. But like the room itself was fine. But like the bathroom was just like, yeah, I couldn't have my hands beside my body while I was using the toilet.
Wow.
It was so snug. And it made lots of stuff great. So anyway, but yeah, so just dream bathrooms are like really, and it's not that I honestly, I don't think my dreams are that big. I just want nice bathrooms.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the dream.
Oh, the dream. You mean like dreaming, aspiring to something that's greater than you? Do you mean?
Aspiring to something that is just a little fancier than what you have access to on the regular.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I do share a few different fantasies with our movie today.
Yes. See, it was like the perfect segue. Segue.
What a beautiful segue.
Yes.
Although I will say,
Kind of wistful.
I aspire not to like I aspire to like maybe like a few better things and a few more like just you know, to like careers that like lots of people value, even though like they really should have valued her career. I don't aspire to that man, I will say.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. But I will tell you, admittedly, huge crush on him at one point. We'll get into it.
I'm guessing English patient.
No.
Oh.
Weirdly enough.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the English patient at all. It was it was my crush on his brother Joseph Fiennes.
Oh yes, from
Shakespeare
in
in
Love.
Love.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. I
I
just
know.
clicked on his Wikipedia page, and his full name is Rafe Nathaniel Twizzleton
Yep.
Wickham
Yep.
Fiennes.
Yeah, that's how pompous and rich he is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like he is
Just
he
like
is,
the character he plays.
he
That's
is
a fancy
legacy.
name.
Yeah, he is fancy legacy money. Well, before we all get into it, I'm Andrea Warner,
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
and you're listening to Pop This. And yeah, if you haven't guessed it already, I mean, we're not talking about The English Patient, nor are we talking about Shakespeare in Love. We are talking about Maid in Manhattan.
A far lesser offering than those other two films, that's for sure.
But is it? Let me challenge you here, Lisa.
Oh yes, please do. I really want to know how you would make that argument. Go.
I argue that I think Maid in Manhattan actually has so much more interesting stuff that it's trying to address fundamentally than The English Patient or arguably Shakespeare in Love. Like
Okay,
at the
trying
core,
to address. Trying.
I didn't say it's successfully addressing.
Yes, okay.
But at its core, there is more attempts at interesting conversations in Maid in Manhattan than a lot of other rom-coms. I'm not going to say they're successful, but at least they're there and they invite us into the opportunity to discuss them further.
This feels
will
like... Yeah, go ahead.
I will say this. I have seen all three of those movies, and Maid in Manhattan is the only one I remember. I have like really no memory of what the English Patient. I couldn't really tell you what it's about.
It's in the title.
And the Shakespeare in Love, like I know, obviously Shakespeare in Love has something to do with Shakespeare, and Gwyneth Paltrow. But other than that, I couldn't tell you what the plot is at all.
Well, I have a better memory, I guess. I would just say what I want to say about those issues you brought up is that Maid in Manhattan feels like a movie that was a different movie, and then someone said we could make this into a rom-com, and that's where things went wrong.
I feel like 100% that this was a story idea, which is how it's credited. It's a story idea from John Hughes.
Yeah.
And then written by, who uses a pseudonym. And then the actual screenplay is written by, oh my gosh, I got to go down to the end. But Kevin Wade is the screenwriter who did Working Girl a few years earlier.
Similar.
15 years earlier.
I read on the IMDb page for this movie that it's loosely based on a true story about how one of the Rockefellers, Stephen Clark Rockefeller in 1959, son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, married Anne Marie Rasmussen, a maid who had worked at his family's Manhattan hotel.
Oh.
And I mean, I can see I can see sort of how all those things come together. I feel like what the movie doesn't really have someone who is an excellent rom-com writer to sort of provide both the rom and the com. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Wade and John Hughes maybe sort of like a little bit nullified each other. Maybe, and I don't know how this came together, but like didn't quite stick the landing. But I gotta say, so I don't know if I've ever actually seen this movie. This might be my very first time.
That's so surprising to me. That's shocking.
I really was. I was vehemently anti rom-coms for like a really long time.
I never watched rom-coms either, but this one I've seen like a dozen times probably over the years.
Really?
Well, because it's always on somewhere. Maybe not a dozen, like
incredible.
A lot of times.
This is surprising to me.
Yeah.
I've seen like 10% of rom-coms, and this one I've seen multiple times.
Fascinating.
I only ever saw it once, and then again.
And then again now. Okay,
yeah.
well, you know what? I'm very excited about this conversation. All right, so let's just give a little background for anybody who doesn't know. Maid in Manhattan is a 2002 American romantic comedy drama film. Again, all those three words, you can, loosely. Directed by Wayne Wang, based on a story by John Hughes, who is credited using a pseudonym. It stars Jennifer Lopez, Ralph Fiennes, Natasha Richardson, R.I.P. In the film, a hotel maid and a high-profile politician fall in love. The film was released on December 13th, 2002. So it's kind of almost a Christmas film because it does end with like a Christmas tree in the background, but it like kind of, skirts it. By Columbia Pictures, and was a box office success, $100 million more than its budget.
Whoa.
Wow.
$100 million more.
And and I'll read our synopsis here from Rotten Tomatoes. Marissa Ventura, played by Jennifer Lopez, is a single mother born and bred in the boroughs of New York City who works as a maid in a first-class Manhattan hotel. By a twist of fate and mistaken identity, Marissa meets Christopher Marshall, played by Ralph Fiennes, heir to a political dynasty who believes that she is a guest at the hotel. Fate steps in and throws the pair together for a magical night of romance. When Marissa's true identity is revealed, the two find that they are worlds apart.
So, okay.
It's a Cinderella story, more or less.
I know it's a Cinderella story. I get that. But, did you guys find that this was a magical night of romance? There's so little time at the ball.
There's, one...
It's true.
Not even a full dance.
Not even a full dance. Have. You can't say it's a magical night of romance when we have almost no time at the ball.
I would say that the walk in the park was more of the magical romance part than the ball. But then again.
Yeah, it's like they just wanted to get that shot of Jennifer Lopez walking down in the dress,
and everyone looks scared, looking up at her, and I did not care for any of the looks in this. In fact, the only look I really probably liked in this entire movie was her maid's uniform.
I really thought you would have enjoyed the white Dolce coat. Like, that's a good coat.
Yeah, the coat was nice, but it was just a bit snug, and that turtleneck and a coat is never my favorite look. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Did you like the 2002 era makeup where it looks like you're wearing an iridescent raccoon bandit eye shape and then a deep tan on either end of your face?
Yeah.
Because that's honestly
a lot of shine.
Such a look.
Yeah.
So much shine. I will say, like, the ball, I mean, I love that it's weird because at the ball, what we get is like 2 minutes of Toronto's own Glenn Lewis performing, which is great. And I love that. But, like,
why?
We also only get 2 minutes of Jennifer Lopez? Like, the amount of work that goes into getting her ready for this ball, which, again, not long enough I want a long sequence of trying on multiple dresses, not just holding them up to your body. I want to see every single dress on you.
I want to see that curtain pulled back and then the coming out. And
they do perfectly with Queen Latifah in Last Holiday.
So perfect. Yeah.
Pretty Woman, perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. Well, and speaking of that, like, oh my gosh, I gotta remember, but let me just like look briefly. I can't remember if it is Wayne Wang, who directs this film, is also the director of The Last Holiday.
Oh, come on. There you go.
And he also directed The Joy Luck Club. Like, I really, you know what?
So I know that maybe he's going to exceed Gary Marshall then as our favorite director.
Maybe.
No, well, this one, but he's actually made movies we've liked outside.
Yes.
I mean, I guess Gary Marshall made a couple, but that we liked. But I mean, but did he actually? Now that I gotta go back in and look.
Didn't he do A League of Her Own?
I thought that was Penny Marshall.
Oh, Penny Marshall. Sorry, wrong Marshall. Got a Marshall.
I mean,
though.
like sibling, but yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to check. But honestly, I'm kind of like I'm reading more about Wayne Wang, and I am finding his career quite fascinating, actually.
Yeah,
like,
no kidding.
He's super interesting. I mean, I'm not surprised that this film has sort of this like sort of through line of like trying to balance stories of people in housing projects and in sort of like really working class and sort of like poor immigrant kind of storylines with this like, friendly Republican, like 2002 sort of like that trying to walk that line. Because I feel like that's what like Working Girl kind of did, which is exactly what, the screenwriter was kind of, he did write that. And I think it was also something like John Hughes was kind of trying to explore periodically with, I think, not very much nuance and certainly with like very little accurate reflection of like race and racism and like those kinds of tensions. But I think the movie wants to play with class tension a lot. And I feel like that is something that is reflected in the past work of Wayne Wang and Kevin Wade and a little bit John Hughes. So I kind of appreciate, and I think Jennifer Lopez is interested in exploring those things as well.
No, I agreed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like how you got to see like all sides, like all different sides of New York in this movie. It was, like her regular everyday life and scenes on the subway and scenes of like working class people. It wasn't just like the fancy parts of the hotel. You got to see like behind the scenes and them punching in for the day. And I don't know. I'm always fascinated with things set in hotels. I love stories set in hotels. And
me too.
So this really appeals to me.
In some ways, it's like the progression that she takes from Maid in Manhattan to Hustlers.
And also kind of like almost a full circle.
Yeah.
Like in terms of sort of that working class aspirational kind of like. And but I think with Maid in Manhattan, like, I mean, all of them like are like a tremendous amount of work that goes into sort of trying to survive and thrive in capitalism. So like, I think that that's a really great story. And I really, especially like, how we start off in the beginning and we see like we walk through the bowels of the hotel with her. We see her go into the different sections. We see them talk about a Beresford maid is invisible. And like that sort of and the number of people that it takes to like working underneath to provide the veneer of gloss and fanciness. You know, I don't think we see it depicted that frequently, especially in rom-coms. You know, like it doesn't happen that often. So I was kind of really into that. I was just like, this movie's doing some interesting stuff that like
That's why it feels like two different movies to me. It feels like it could have been just a drama, like, you know, like if it's based on that Rockefeller story. I mean, then why not just explore that? Why throw in that weird, you know, why couldn't he have just seen a maid and talked to her? Like maybe he could have, okay, I'm going to rewrite the movie right now. So she's being invisible and she's cleaning the room. And Stanley Tucci brings Rafe his speech for his presentation in the Bronx about housing. And he says something that doesn't ring true. And Marissa looks up and says, I'm sorry. I know I meant to be invisible, but I have to say something to you. Your speech is terrible. You don't understand the people. And he looks over and he's like, well, who is this goddess speaking to me? And he says, why don't you come with me tonight to make sure my speech is good? And she comes and then they fall in love. Wouldn't that have been a better movie?
I mean, it's a nicer romance, I think, too, and more interesting for sure. I think you're objecting to the comedy element that they're trying to shoehorn in to the romance drama fantasy of it all.
Yes, it was useless. It was unnecessary and just not. It didn't work. Did
you laugh at any point? Did either of you laugh at any point?
I mean, laughing at Amy, I generally find Amy Sedaris pretty funny.
Yeah, harder in this one.
Yeah.
I thought Jennifer Lopez like snapping back at her was funny.
Well, exactly. Laughing at her character.
That one line she had, can you keep a secret? And then Caroline says, yes, me too. That was pretty good. I don't know if I laughed. I probably had more of a like that.
I've definitely laughed more on this recording than I did in the film.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess so bring us all back a little bit to like recenter us. What do you think of Jennifer Lopez's Marissa in this, like, or Jennifer Lopez's performance?
I think she's great.
Yeah, she's always good in this role. This is a role that she is designed to play. She's done it many times before, like I said, in Hustlers most recently. And I think it's always a good role for her.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of movie starring Jennifer Lopez, I will generally always watch. I just, it's so enjoyable. I think she's great in these movies, like rom-coms.
I think she's really compelling to watch, like, on screen. I think this to me was just I liked her and her character so much better, and her performance, honestly, too, than, like, The Wedding Planner. I mean, I
really disliked that one.
I really hated The Wedding Planner, so that was a hard go for me. But I really, really liked her in this, and I thought she did she just did like a lovely job with the performance, even when she's doing like the I mean, and this is 20 years ago. Like, this movie is 20 years old. But even when she just does the little like she like attacks her son with little kissy faces to make him laugh. Like, I actually thought that was really cute. You know, like, yeah.
I thought, I mean, the way they wrote the son too was quite sweet, that she was indulging his interests, which were very peculiar. And I thought that was very funny.
What in the living, Watergate nightmare makes a plot point for a 10-year-old child that his obsession we hear is that it's the 70s, but the only evidence we have of that is that he is listening to Simon and Garfunkel nonstop,
and then the best of bread,
and yeah, that's right, and then Nixon, Nixon, really.
And then
he's a child.
But then he was also obviously obsessed with politics, or maybe just Republican candidates. I don't know, because he knew he knew the voting record that
Yeah, Chris Marshall's voting record. But like he also like, I mean, he is a kid who cares about like housing reform, and like this is a kid who cares about the environmental issues, and like the record that this guy has on that. Like he seems to be like a really thoughtful kid who cares about issues pertaining to like the humanity of people. Like, how would Nixon fit into? Like, I just don't understand.
well,
I don't think they thought that through. I think that was like, it was like one of those writerly gimmicky kind of things. It was just like,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
oh, well, who's the most sort of like polarizing Republican we have that can, compared to Chris Marshall, you know, makes Chris Marshall look good on, by comparison.
Well, Donald Trump hadn't been president yet, so
Sure hadn't. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. I, you know, the other thing that I was surprised. I don't know why I was surprised, but I was just like, 2002, Google was already a verb.
Yeah, exactly. You can Google
That really
it.
kind of
Yeah, yeah.
like that kind of stuck out to me. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's been our world for this long. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they still use coin on the bus in New York at that
Yes.
point in 2002. So that was
I
like
thought
kind of
about
a nice
that.
throwback. Yeah. That was kind
Do you
of a nice
remember
throwback.
having to scrounge for enough change to pay for bus fare
Absolutely. Absolutely.
in your pockets?
Well, it's also just like it's kind of an interesting thing because it's like also, you know, it can be quite a lot of money to have to load a Metro card all the time in New York, and you know, having change on the fly is like, it speaks also to sort of living a bit more hand to mouth and you know, sort of issues of class and stuff there. And so I was just really, I don't know, I was really like fascinated to sort of watch all these small details. Also, the woman who plays her best friend, Steph, she like has almost no acting credits. I
was so good. She was like
was
she was a scene stealer.
Yeah, but she's been on The Sopranos. She's been like 4 different characters on Law and Order. Carlos looked up her IMDb, and she's been like on Broadway once or something. But like she's done very little acting.
Whereas
That seems
great in this.
surprising.
yeah, and if you look up the woman who played played Jennifer Lopez's mom, Priscilla Lopez.
Yeah.
She was in a chorus line on the Broadway production.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a number of interesting, like Bob Hoskins as the head butler is
Yeah.
a
I
nice
thought he was lovely in
performance.
that.
Yeah, he was. He was very sweet.
And then Chris, I don't know how to say his last name. Chris
Eigenman?
Yeah, from Gilmore Girls.
Digger. I put Digger as soon as I saw him.
And of course, Stanley Tucci.
Yeah. I mean,
we always
Natasha
love-
Richardson's. Who doesn't love the Tooch? It's great. Do you ever call him the Tooch?
Not as
I
much
never
as you.
have.
I can't help it. Natasha Richardson, it was really nice to see her. She had a line that was very funny. And I think I made a note of it, so I'm just going to like look at it. But even though her character was terrible, I thought she played the character very well, you know, like, but when she says drinks, then after everyone has like found out with Marissa, and like, he's like, I would never go to lunch with you. It was like the worst experience of my life, or misfortune to have a second lunch with you. And then she's like, drinks then?
Yeah.
Okay. That is one moment where I genuinely laughed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very funny moment, and that made me laugh quite a lot. But yeah, it was rough stuff. In terms of humor,
Yeah.
you know, there was just very little to be had.
Well, and also and the ending is so anticlimactic. It really is. Doesn't even make any sense. Like, he didn't want to get in touch with her, but as soon as they show up there, I don't know. I didn't, neither one of them, like, we're meant to believe that a couple of months have passed, right? Between that.
Yeah.
and so she's got a new job as a maid in a different hotel, and he's going to be there. And if little Ty hadn't shown up to ask that question, I guess they never would have got back together. Is that the idea?
Well, I love the ambivalence, right? Like, it's so wild to me that, like, we're supposed to be, like, looking for this grand gesture of romance, but it's her 10-year-old son who has to go and put in the legwork. Yeah,
I know. Like, he didn't even bother looking her up. Don't care.
He doesn't even care that he's, like, for whatever reason, the confluence of time and space is that he's having this event at the hotel that she now works in. Like, he has no clue. He's done nothing to find out, like, where she is or what she's doing. Like, there's nothing. He's wanted nothing to know about her at all, except that, like, he's gonna walk through the hotel, follow the kid, and then just, like, kiss her and expect that is enough. Like,
I guess that's why we didn't. I was expecting a wedding scene, but all we get is they're still dating a year later. Well, that's not very, like, great. I don't know. That was so.
It's very realistic.
Yeah.
It's
ending.
So realistic. I love it. It's honestly, if you could ask me what's your one favorite detail from this film, it's that the happily ever after is a magazine cover that says 1 year later, still going strong.
Yeah, they're just still dating.
There is like such a pragmatism to that I find. I actually feel like that's, I know that rom-coms are supposed to deliver on a fantasy, but I think I love that what we see is that she's not, like, the fantasy is not her just marrying this rich white man. She's doing the manager program. She is like continuing to live her dream to work in the management position, and they're still dating. Great.
Yeah. They're just still dating.
Like, honestly. Fantastic. I hope Tyler finds a path for himself as the first successful independent candidate. That, really, like, he
becomes AOC. I think that's what happens.
That would be great. That would be, I would love that for him. Yeah. That would be wonderful. Sorry, go ahead.
Another interesting aspect of this movie I found was the relationship between Marissa and her mother. And this kind of idea that her mother wants her to work as a house cleaner or a maid, and she doesn't think she's, good enough to do other things. And that I found that a very interesting thing to think about, like, every time I see this movie. Because the inclination, like, I think if, I was telling your story, is like, you always hear about parents or like, no, your parent wants you to, like, be a manager or be a doctor or be a lawyer or try to start, like kids of immigrants, especially. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the kind of stereotype, is that they're always trying to push their kids to become professionals or whatever.
This is a practical movie. This is just not about dreams. This is about a practical movie.
Exactly. Her mom is very practical in this movie and was like, no, you have to, it's more important to, get a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
she's not wrong.
I think the steady paycheck for sure. Right. Like, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think that it does a good job of exploring a bit of that tension between, like, dreams that have been deferred, that have become, like, just about survival, and then the next generation. Like, she wants to protect Marissa from having her own dreams maybe a little bit squashed, the way that, like, maybe perhaps her own dreams have been squashed a little bit,
It was interesting because this movie came out the same year as Real Women Have Curves.
I was just thinking about that.
Like a similar mother-daughter kind of a struggle in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And just about being careful of, like, dreaming too big in case the world wants to, like, hurt you or hold you back or whatever, which is kind of like a learned trauma response, right? Like, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's just like, you want to prevent people you care about from having similar experiences of hurt, but like not also understanding that like, you know, everyone is a little bit different and the world changes a tiny bit, and you can't, you know, you don't know necessarily that you're imparting your own stuff onto other people sometimes. You know, and I think I kind of really appreciated that.
But like overall though, it's
that's it. So I want to talk a little bit about this, because in 2010, Maid in Manhattan made Time's top 10 worst quote unquote chick flicks, which is a term that I do not care for, but anyway. The tagline was, "And the loser is women." And I will confess, that tagline still makes me laugh. And I actually think it works for a lot of these films that are on that list. Yeah. Because some of these films are very specifically like not great to women, even though they are marketed to them, and you know, full of stereotypes and tropes that are like kind of sexist and like have a lot of internalized misogyny. But like, so on this list, The Ugly Truth, All About Steve, Nights in Rodanthe, A Walk to Remember, Maid in Manhattan, Valentine's Day, Bride Wars, Kate and Leopold, A Cinderella Story, and Crossroads.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that list.
I haven't seen any of those movies except for Maid in Manhattan like 10 times.
Well, so this is the thing I want to say is like, I don't think all of these movies necessarily belong side by side next to each other on this list.
Maybe not, but I see their point. Having seen not all of them, but a number of them, and well,
we've done a few of them for the podcast. Yeah. Like we've done Bride Wars, which was
we
awful.
Did not like. Yeah,
it was terrible. Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I've
seen A Walk to Remember, and I weeped like a baby, but that's just because I have a problem.
I've never seen it, but I've heard it's a great weeper. I've heard it's a great weeper. If you want to clear out the old eye ducts, I heard that. The Ugly Truth I have seen because it's my one film that I went on a press junket for. So I have a weird relationship to that movie.
Wait, what was the Ugly Truth press junket like?
Incredible. It was 24 hours in Los Angeles, staying at the Beverly Hilton, 4 seasons, and like you got to and then like going to the film, you know, getting to eat at like the bar in the hotel that night, and like my first time having lobster mac and cheese. And like, as soon as we got to the hotel, I ran face first into Jessica Biel, which she was not even in the film. She was just like working out. She looks like a beautiful lion. I think I've mentioned that before. And then the junket the next morning was extremely awkward because obviously Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler did not get along. And so Roland Emmerich, who I believe was the director, sat in between them.
Oh my gosh.
It was quite a pivotal time because Katherine Heigl had either left Grey's or was leaving Grey's, or there was rumors that I can't remember if she had left already or not, but the instructions to the room were that you were not allowed to ask Katherine Heigl about Grey's Anatomy. And and she also had like quite a reputation at that point for being very difficult. And I remember like leaving the junket being like, you know what? I think Katherine Heigl is a little misunderstood. Like she does the best she can in that movie. Gerard Butler strolled in looking like, you know, he had done just lines all night long and had not seen a razor or a washcloth in 4 years. And he just looked like a disaster. And she was like so professional and so like amiable and like, you know, she showed up to play. He showed up just thinking he could be like handsome, and that was it. But it did not work on his part. I don't think that it's that great a film, but like I think it's at least better than Bride Wars, or it's definitely better than Valentine's Day. I'll give it that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're giving like, you're saying like this bit of poo is better than that bit of poo. So
we all know that not all poos are equal.
Yes.
I like it just weirdly enough, I don't know why, but now I'm suddenly like kind of like gonna defend Maid in Manhattan. I don't think it belongs on this list.
Oh, you're just right out there. Yeah, well, I mean, it's all about the criteria, right? Like you said, if the criteria is that the women lose in all of these movies, and then I would say Maid in Manhattan did not do a lot for, women in general. Let's just say that.
But like Marissa does get her dream of like the management training job. Like
eventually,
she makes it through management, and like she like achieves what she wants to professionally, and like and
she's still going strong.
And a year later,
they're still going strong. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't say it necessarily. I don't think the movies necessarily depicts women poorly or has like sad outcomes.
Well, that Carolyn character, Carolyn Lane, that's got to be one of the thinnest, flimsiest, most awful characters I've ever seen in a rom-com. And I've seen a lot of rom-coms.
Well, I mean, she's slight and kind of nothing, but like she's not really like a factor, right? Like she's just the sort of she's just a supporting character.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, but
yeah.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be like kind of comically bad, like person.
There's just we're missing the like elements of the comedy. That's the problem.
Yes.
Like
yes.
we like yeah.
She just seems like a tragic figure, and it gets depressing.
She does get increasingly desperate as the film goes on. But I just think like Marissa, the character in Maid in Manhattan, is like a far superior character to the one that Jennifer Lopez plays in The Wedding Planner, for instance.
Okay. I don't want to fight about Maid in Manhattan because I want to just try and forget I saw it again.
Really?
And yeah. I mean, it's fine.
I'm surprised you didn't like it that much.
It fine.
It just seems so harmless.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. It's just like,
Whereas like so many rom-coms on this list are like actually bad.
Yeah. I know, but sometimes I like really bad things because they're more fun. But just something that's like, a very bland meal in a bland restaurant on a bland day is just very disheartening. There's not even anything fun to get really angry about. It's just like a lukewarm cup of coffee, like it did the job. You got the caffeine, but that's about it.
It's interesting to think about how like, Jennifer Lopez being cast in this role changed it quite a bit because originally like Hilary Swank was supposed to play the role, and then I think like Sandra Bullock was expressed interest in the lead, and they offered it to Julia Roberts. But yeah, I just think that Jennifer Lopez being Latina like kind of changed the story.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. I gave it much more depth. Yeah, much more to her situation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I honestly can't imagine caring at all about this film if it was Hilary Swank or Sandra Bullock. And I mean, both people who I enjoy. Though that I gotta keep coming. This keeps going around in my head. Why Ralph Fiennes? Like, how did he get cast here? Because I feel like
That's a good question.
He's the real wet noodle in this.
And it's not a role that he normally plays.
No, it's not at all. The English
and he
patient.
He doesn't seem very funny. Oh yeah. So I have a Ralph Fiennes story. Actually, all three Fiennes siblings. When I the summer that I lived in New York when I was an intern, I had a chance to go and they were doing like a reading series, and it was Ralph Fiennes, Joseph Fiennes, and their sister, whose name I cannot recall right now. I'm sorry. They were reading letters by their mother, who had been a writer, and I think she had passed away. And so the three of them just did this like night of reading in like a community center gymnasium or something, and all like the tickets were free, and there were like hundreds of us piled into this community center. And Ralph Fiennes I was really charmed by him in a way that I hadn't expected, because when he's just speaking on his own, when he doesn't have a script, he has quite a stutter. And so, yeah, and he was talking about how like he really needs, like, as soon as he was reading his mother's words, his stutter went away. But if it was just him sort of talking on his own and discussing things with his siblings or anybody else, it was the stutter came back quite a bit. And Joseph Fiennes was absolutely delicious and dreamy, as one would expect, circa 2000. Because this was in the year 2000 that I was there. And what was Ralph Fiennes in that I had sort of fallen for him at that point? I can't remember. I'd have to look. But anyway.
Harry Potter.
No, he wasn't. No, Harry Potter hadn't started then. Not in 2000. Yeah, I'll figure it out. But anyway. But yeah, this is not the type of movie that he excels in any way, I don't think. You know?
No. They could have put anybody in there. Some model. Anybody. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, like it wasn't good.
No.
Well, because I think we're just used to seeing him in other movies where he plays a more darker character.
Mm-hmm. Not that you remember, but
I have the impression.
The
impression, like the sort of like there's a Voldemort cloud over.
Yes.
My mind's eye of Ralph Fiennes.
One of the reviews I read was he just has something sinister about him, so it looks like he's going to take Marissa back to some kind of weird torture chamber. Yeah. Like a lot of the reviews at the time were very terrible. A lot of the reviews were very sexist as well. Jennifer Lopez got nominated for a Razzie for
wasn't
her
that
performance.
bad?
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Yeah, no, like I thought that was like kind of a huge insult.
That's outrageous.
It's totally outrageous. Especially because she really, like, her and Steph are really like two of the best things in the film, and so you know why.
Well, and the movie was a box office success.
Yeah,
it
huge.
It wasn't a flop or anything.
Huge. But like it's even to this day, like I don't understand, for me personally. Okay, so the Rotten Tomatoes critical score is 38%, the audience score is 43%, versus The Wedding Planner, 17% critical score, which I get, 59% audience score.
Well, it's
like,
a lot more fun though. That's just The Wedding Planner. It's way more fun.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I did not find it fun at all. I hated that so much.
No, I know, but it's
Yeah.
This movie is quite dreary, I find.
It does lack a lot of the calm and the rom. I will give you that.
Yeah, there's no chemistry between them. Ralph Fiennes. I mean, say what you will about Matthew McConaughey. He is designed for rom-coms. That guy.
Yeah, I find him personally, like, it's as if he turns any, like, the normal, like, things that, like, are, like sexual attraction receptors, he actually inverts them in my body and makes them so. Yes. And it's not even like a question of like thinking about angry sexual impulses or anything. It's just like a deadened hatred of myself and the act of sex. Like anyway.
Wow. No ambivalence
God.
here. Nope, I got that.
No. Yeah. Anyway. So that said, though, I also did not think that Ralph Fiennes did a great job in this, and I really feel like a love story between J-Lo and Keith, the dirty old security guard who gets a kiss as payment. Or, J-Lo and Bob Hoskins, nice chemistry. J-Lo and Steph had a beautiful chemistry. J-Lo, she can bring it for anyone.
Yeah. And
only she could warm this particular Ralph Fiennes thing to, like, a 3 degrees. Like, she does her best, but it's just impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, does Maid in Manhattan Made in Manhattan pop?
No.
I'm going to say yes, because I like J-Lo movies. I like movies that are set in hotels, and I like movies that are set in New York. And it's just an easy thing to watch. It's pleasant and easy.
It hit all three of those things for me as well. And I personally really enjoy, I think, the stuff that they're trying to do. That's at least layered. It's not done well, but it invites us to sort of like notice a few things. And if anybody wants to read, the AV Club has like this really thoughtful sort of like re-examination of the film, and Wayne Wang and the like cinematographer, and how they sort of like represent class and labor struggles and all kinds of other stuff that's happening. So I really appreciated that, and that's on the AV Club, and we can link to that in the show notes.
Well, you two are much kinder. To me, it's like, you know how they make those fake trailers and they change the genre on the movie? I feel like this is that movie. I feel like I'm watching the fake trailer where they took a drama and made it into a rom-com. And so I felt ripped off on both fronts. I didn't get a good drama and I didn't get a good rom-com.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, this just seemed like a good rom-com because of those things.
Oh, well, I agree with you about hotels, though. I do love hotels. Yeah.
I also I enjoy like and also just as a general thread throughout the film, even though Marissa is inexplicably falling for this man, she continues to tell him all the ways he's wrong about stuff. Mm-hmm. And I honestly I really like movies like that where you're just like putting fair. Like, you know, rich men in their place. I know that, you know, they can pay for that service in lots of different ways, but I did enjoy that. I think though that he should not have been rewarded with her affection.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you know what? Maybe year two they're broken up, and that's the end of their story.
That's why I wanted to say I love the end credits. She is pursuing her dream of management, and fine, they're still together, but there's no splashy like. The dream is that, you know, she's in this like this huge wedding, this society wedding. Like, no.
I think that's a good ending. It's very creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the rom-com world.
I really appreciated that. We do love to also leave our episodes on things we all like to recommend. So, Lisa, do you want to go first?
Sure. I have just started watching a new series on Netflix called Stay Close. It's a good British murder mystery type show, and it for those of you who watch The Good Fight, it stars Cush Jumbo.
Yay!
And she's amazing in it, and it's just one of those great pot boilers. I'm in the middle of it right now, and it's one of those stories when you're in it, you just want to keep going back and watching it. Lots of twists and turns, and it's really good.
Cool.
Nice. I need a show like that in my life right now.
There you go. Yeah, it's a good one.
Perfect. AG, what about you?
So I'm going to recommend The Power of the Dog, the new Jane Campion film that's getting tons of awards buzz and everything, and it's completely deserved. This is an amazing, amazing film. Like, beautiful. The story is so powerful and so nuanced. And I know that like some of us might look at it and think, I don't ever feel like watching a Western, but this is a different Western. And it's definitely
that was the voice in my head, actually. So thank you for that.
Overcome your dislike of Westerns and just watch it, because Kirsten Dunst is amazing, Jesse Plemons is amazing, and of course Benedict Cumberbatch is probably going to win all the awards for things in the Oscar season.
Fascinating. Okay, I'll give it a try. You know how I feel about Westerns, but I will give it a try.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend, it's like an old series, not that old, but like a little bit old. It's from 2015, I believe. It ran from 2015 to 2017. It's on Disney Plus. I think in the Star app or whatever. It's called Rosewood. It is about a private pathologist working in Miami who, obviously solves crimes. And it stars Morris Chestnut as Dr. Beaumont Rosewood Jr. And Morris Chestnut is a delight. He has been in tons of things over the years that, some people may know well or may not know, but like movies and TV. He was in Girls Trip as himself. He was in The Best Man, Kick-Ass 2, The Brothers, Boys in the Hood was his like film debut. And he's also done a lot of other stuff. Anyway, he is very charming. The cast is really charming. And I have kind of been weirdly super into it. It's only 2 seasons, so don't get too attached to everybody. But for 2 seasons, you'll have like kind of a good time. And for a show that is like about a medical pathologist, I will say so far there has been like very little fat shaming, which is a delight for me because most shows have a tremendous amount of fat shaming. I'm thinking of You, Bones. Horrific fat shaming. Even less fat shaming than Gilmore Girls. So that's really nice to see. So it's and it has lots of different things that it's focusing on. It's a procedural that has like lots of different stuff going on. So I really appreciate that.
Excellent.
Yeah, good recommendations.
So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We hope that you are having a okay 2022 so far. You can hang out with us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. You could listen to us on Spotify or anywhere else you like. And you could also rate and review us 5 stars on iTunes.
Like as I like to say, our 5-star general and co-host here, Andrea Gin, who is the producer of this podcast, and we really appreciate her and you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.